Well, after 2 home games and a trip to Spokane, Washington, the Creighton Blue Jays are 2-1. Where is this team flawed? Where is their ceiling the highest at? Casey Matthews and I debate. Also, the Big Pal is having a big impact on the NBA. We discuss all that and more. It's the Roll Jays podcast.
Heads up, it's the Roll Jays podcast, the voice of the Creighton basketball fan. With your hosts, Jimmy Allen and Casey Matthews. Join the crew and meet CU players, coaches, and a whole lot more. Now, the Roll Jays podcast. Here's Jimmy Allen.
Welcome back to the Roll Jays podcast. Jimmy Allen and Casey Matthews with you here, brought to you by Pepper Jack's Grill and Pyramid Contractors. Casey, Creighton, as a lot of us, you and I both kind of figured was going to be the case after 3 games. The Jays are 2-1. But it's looked a lot different than I think both of us expected it to. And I think that's the interesting thing about this team. You could probably line up 10 different Creighton fans. They would probably give you 10 different answers the way they thought this team was going to look through 3 games.
Yeah, I think you made a good point there too, though, right? Is like if you would have told us, like, gun to our heads, what do you think after the first 3 games? I think we'd probably both have said we'd be 2-1.
Yeah.
But the way we look has been what's been really different. And that one really looked bad. And so I think that's why there's some of this, like, trepidation around what this team is right now, because we expected a team that would be able to compete, with that Gonzaga team, and we just flat out couldn't. And what I think
is it fair to say that? Because that first half was pretty competitive. Now, you got to play a whole game. That obviously matters. But I just think about that environment on the road, this many new pieces, first true road test, etc. Like, I don't know if it's fair to say that they didn't compete, because that first half was pretty competitive.
Yeah, but the second half wasn't. And the second half was, in my opinion, they kind of quit. And they got down big, and they just said, didn't win this one. And they just sort of finished the game out. And that is just so anti-Coach Mack. And that is a really interesting topic to get into. And part of what I was wanting to talk about tonight is, as I've spent some time listening to some things that Mack has said about having to spend more time coaching right now, coaching effort. You listen to Lou in our latest interview. He kind of alluded to it. Coach Murph alluded to it after the Gonzaga game about these guys don't know how to win yet. We got to teach them how to win. And the more and more I thought about it, you got to look at this roster. You look at, and this is nothing about them individually, but when you look at Owen Freeman and Josh Dix, the 2 guys that we spent the most money on, and we thought we need them to be dominant players.
Yeah.
Then you look at where they came from. They didn't come from a program winning the Big Ten championship and cutting down nets.
Right.
There's a reason why there is a changing of the guard there. And so there's 2 guys that in some ways I think it's fair to say haven't won at this level.
I think it's fair to sprinkle that across this entire roster.
But that's what I wanted to get at.
Yeah. Because when you get a transfer like a Baylor Shireman who has success winning a conference championship and transferred in, different mentality, right? When you get a guy like Stephen Ashworth who has won a regular season championship at his previous stop, different mentality. Now you couple that with a group of guys that had made an Elite 8 appearance. That's right. A winning formula. And I'm not saying this one can't be, but there is 0 championship experience on this team right now.
And it gives you an understanding of why you are hearing what you're hearing from the coaches. And that's, Jimmy, you really kind of stole my thunder in some ways. You're too smart. Is you also look at Blake Harper, right? Like, not exactly coming from a powerhouse. You look at Austin, coming from another high major program. Coach Larinaga is a heck of a basketball coach. Resigned, I think, halfway through the year.
Yeah.
Right. And they knew they weren't going to win. And I think that's what you've got is a bunch of guys who, when they've been down, they've just kind of known they weren't going to win. And so instead of fighting back, instead of learning how to keep throwing punches, and you just got to understand, you just got to land one that knocks your guy back a little bit before you're like, okay, I can hang. That's not that's not what they're used to. That isn't what they've come from. And then when I don't know if the right word here, I'm going to throw a big word out here, Jimmy. When you juxtapose, okay, you didn't see that one coming for me.
That's made up
okay?
word, but go ahead.
No, it's not made up. I remember that. That versus anybody watching this, tell us if I'm correct there on juxtapose.
Leave us the definition of juxtapose in the comments below.
But when you do what I said, when you juxtapose that against, like you said, Stephen Ashworth, Baylor Shireman, I'm going to keep going. Ryan Hawkins, one of, if not the best leader I've ever been around. Alex O'Connell coming from Duke, and an absolute powerhouse program that absolutely knows how to win. Go back to Ryan Hawkins, won multiple championships at the Division II level.
Right.
You can name a bunch of guys that have come in and been big pieces of a lot of wins and a lot of battles. And then you look at their past and you go, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Go ahead.
And I hope you don't mind me mention this because it was kind of a conversation we had off air, but we were kind of talking about why Nick Graves kind of feels so important in this whole mix. And I didn't think about it until you juxtaposed this conversation and decided to think about where they're coming from, where they've been, and the things that the coaches have echoed about lack of vocal leadership. Well, there's only one guy on this team that's had to be in a vocal leadership role, and it's because of the position he plays. Mm-hmm. So just by ipso facto, that may make Nick Graves the vocal leader of this team.
Yeah. And I think that begs the question, is that a good thing or not?
Best role? Yeah, I agree.
And I think, was it Vanderloo that was talking about that? Like, because he's the point guard.
Yeah,
and,
maybe.
And look, in this offense, I think it's really important. And like, Matt gets so much praise for his offensive prowess.
Oh, does he, Casey?
He does. I'm the president of the fan club. And let me tell you, his offensive mind, it's unbelievable. But what I really think is like his superpower in that way is his ability to teach his point guards what he's seeing on the floor.
Sure.
And he does this in a couple of different ways. One of the ways he does it is he'll bring in the players individually and watch film with them in his office after most games. And he'll take his time, especially with his point guard, and say, hey, tell me what you see, and then I'm going to tell you what I see. And then we're going to work on this together so that we're seeing the same thing on the court. That takes time, and it takes time because you can't replicate it in practice. And you really can't replicate it in exhibition games. It can really only be done when actual, bullets, for lack of a better term, are flying.
Yeah.
And there's ramifications for how well or how poorly you play in a game. So I think there's just a lot that's going on here that I think the average fan, and again, I hate saying it like, oh, you're like, it's a derogatory thing, but I think if you don't understand the time that it takes some of these teams to gel, and then also understand that Mac rolled the dice on a lot of these guys as understanding like they're not, quote unquote, they didn't come from winning programs. I don't want to not call them winners, because I still think you can be a winner and not play for a winning program. But I think he's spending a lot of time teaching them how to win. And that's where, and I know you share this with me, that's where my confidence comes from, and my ability to be patient comes from with this team.
Sure.
Is because I know that there's talent there.
Well, and I'll give you a couple other reasons to be patient for this team, because like I implore anybody to go back and watch the first 10 or so games of Baylor Shireman's career in a Creighton uniform. It did not look polished. And B, I know you listen, I apologize. I wasn't your biggest fan when you first got here, and I was just kind of like, this guy's just sporadic and just takes shots. And I wasn't seeing the forest through the trees. I wasn't seeing the conversations on the sideline where he was being implored to go shoot as often as he could to fix his line of sight for his shots. And they were going to die on the hill because they saw in practice what oftentimes we didn't see in the game was a lot of those shots were going in. It was only just a matter of time till the practice reps caught up with the in-game situation on the court too. And that obviously eventually happened. And I know it's easy to say, well, did you see the end of the Gonzaga game? And they weren't really taking shots, and they were really hesitant, and they're really passive aggressive. Go back and watch Jemiah Neal's first 10 games.
Mm-hmm.
There was not a more passive-aggressive player on the court than Jemiah Neal last season for the first half of the stretch. Go back and watch the guy that was hanging on the rim at the end of the Big East tournament. Doesn't even look like the same exact player.
Yeah.
So that is just two prime examples, and that's just two. There's a ton more of guys that after 3 months in the system look a lot different because they start playing and not thinking. And that's where I think this team needs to get to.
I definitely agree with you. And I think there's more to peel back there. Of you look at the team Baylor Shireman came to. Yeah. There were already, exactly, a bunch of really good players already. He was just another guy that had to figure out how he fits in with what was already here. The difference now is you really, and no offense to Jason, but all these guys came into like, it's just clay. It's totally unmolded clay that we got to figure out what it even looks like.
With that being said, and I know a lot of people want to say Jackson McAndrew, but I think that guy that you just mentioned is by far the most important piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, and you know what? You're right though, because Jackson was here, so I was incorrect in my statement. Sure. But Jason, to me, it's just that Jason's been here.
I think he's the leader. I don't know if he's ready for it. And I don't know if he wants it, but I think look at when something goes wrong. Look at who everybody on the court turns. Mm-hmm. They're often looking at Jason Creighton. A lot of that might be because he's the biggest guy on the court too, and that just is a natural reaction, right? But he's from Omaha. Mm-hmm. He's been here the longest. So I think by default, we're going to see Jason Green take some major steps as a leader this season, just by happenstance.
We could, it's really not in his personality. So I don't know, what we're going to see.
A lot of people would have said that about a young Ryan Kalkbrenner too. And we know
that's fair. I mean, I think that's fair.
By the end of his career.
Yeah. I think for me though, the reason why I feel this way though is because Jason's further along in his career and he's never really had to be that. So now asking somebody to be that out of necessity is a little different than just happening organically. Whereas I think with Kalk, it did kind of happen organically because, more and more guys were graduating or whatever. But no, I see what you're saying there. It's just, look, you just got a bunch of guys right now that just trying to figure it out. And I would just caution people, be patient because it's coming. And I think what you're talking about with Ryan Kalkbrenner is a great segue into our second topic because
absolutely.
And talking about being patient, it's unbelievable what he's doing with the Hornets. And
he's doing things the NBA franchise that have never been done before.
It's remarkable
at this franchise specifically, not in the NBA history, but the way he's scoring the basketball right now and the way he's playing defense, he's averaging almost 7 boards a night in the NBA, and he's basically averaging. He's flirting with a double-double every time he's out. He's been incredible.
Blocking shots, his field goal percentage and his true shooting percentage are off the charts. He's lit. Rob Anderson, the great Rob Anderson, puts out a lot of tweets about his percentages compared to other NBA rookies or other NBA greats. It's amazing. And I think what's so cool is I think if you would even have asked him, we interviewed him.
We did basically
before, and he was confident, but I still think he wasn't sure where he fit in the NBA.
Because how many times was he probably told that he's not an NBA guy? He was a fringe NBA guy. There's a reason the Project 11 thing happened and he came back to Creighton. It was because he didn't feel he was ready for the NBA. Charlotte's played 17 games this season. Ryan has not scored in double digits in 7 of those games. Yeah. He's shooting at an all-time high for that franchise. And I think the crazy thing about it is he's shooting at a higher percent from the field in the NBA today than he was at the end of his Creighton career in that senior year. And so effectively, he's being more successful in the NBA than he even was at Creighton. And if that's the case long-term, Charlotte's going to have a really bright future.
I think it's cool to see the impact that he's making defensively still. That to me was I felt like that was the one area where he would fit because he can block shots. Blocking shots is more than just being tall. And who's our guy? Gosh darn it. I forgot his name, Jimmy. Who's our guy, our most loyal fan that always writes in, what is it?
Peter
Cunningham.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Peter went on a retweet rampage the other day with the not tall thing. And,
Peter, remember that I was the one that remembered you. Just feel
well, I
free.
remembered it after. Look,
Yeah.
I had juxtapose already, so like you got to give me a little bit of credit. But Peter went on a rampage the day with just tall or whatever it was that he was doing, and I was just dying laughing because that's kind of what the narrative was. Yeah, I love it. But like my point is, it's not he's able to impact defense and impact blocking shots, not because he's just tall. His timing is impeccable. His basketball IQ is off the charts, and I think that's what allows him to be in position to go up and make a play, and not just react to, oh, here's a guy he's about to go up and try to dunk it or try to get a layup. Like he sees it, seconds ahead of the action, and I think that's what makes him, really special in that area.
I'm gonna give you an opportunity to give yourself some flowers here, which is something I'm famously often opposed to when people are nice to you. But this conversation made me think back to our conversation with Ryan, where you guys had discussed how there was that point in his career when he'd make a mistake, he'd look to you, you'd jot it down, and you guys would review that later. Was that a Casey Matthews thing? Was that a Ryan Kalkbrenner thing, or was that somebody else kind of making sure that happened?
So that's a long story.
I'll tell you why I'm asking when you answer.
Yeah. Okay, so it's kind of a combination, and it came from, we had a group of guys coming in and working with our players, kind of spearheaded. You remember Danny Woodhead?
I do.
Danny Woodhead was a part of a group that was trying to help athletes like mental health, just have an outlet.
Probably because everybody told Danny Woodhead he was too short to play football. How'd that work out for you?
Yeah, for sure. And Danny's a phenomenal dude, by the way, too.
Great golfer too.
Yeah, I've heard that. But anyway, so Ryan was just having a hard time. I mean, you could see him. There were just games where he got emotional during a game, and not because of any other reason. He was so hard on himself and wouldn't allow himself to make mistakes. And when he did, he would dwell on it. And so I think it was a combination. We famously, I guess, I don't know if it's famous, but internally famous would go, we'd usually go for ice cream on the road the night before, a night before the game. Actually, we did it Big East tournament too. Actually, this last Big East tournament, I got a chance to go with him and Rachel, and it was just always a really special time for us. One, because I love ice cream, so does he, but also because it just kind of got us outside of our normal, group, and we could just talk. And through some of those conversations, we developed a plan together of, hey, when when you make a mistake, you can't dwell on it, because then you're letting that player or you're letting that play beat you, more than once. We talk about that a lot on a team level. If you can't let a team beat you more, 2 games in a row, because you're spending so much time thinking about the last game instead of what's in front of you. And it's that same mentality, is you've got to turn the page. What Ryan had a hard time with was turning that page. So that idea was kind of born of like, hey, if I get it out, then I can move on. And his way of getting it out was to kind of look at me, point at me. I'm watching the game. I just write down the time and when it happened. And then sometimes we would talk about it. But then the cool thing was 3 or 4 games in, we were still doing it. He didn't need to talk about it anymore. He knew that I had it, right? He knew that I had it written down, and that allowed him to release it. And that's not me. I appreciate you, but
like I said, I asked you that to for a reason, because think about it, to kind of make this full circle what we opened the show talking about. Doesn't that kind of feel like learning how to win?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like there's we look at the finished product that is Ryan Kalkbrenner and Stephen Ashworth and Marcus Zagorowski or whoever, fill in the blank, but like we always want that finished product because it happens in March, right? But we haven't. There's a lot of these guys that haven't had that aha moment, how to release their stress or figure out how not to overreact during games, and they still have the ability to do that. So with that being said, like I just think that as great as Ryan was, I think that we always forget back to that freshman kid that was afraid to call for the ball. It wouldn't even raise his hand above his shoulders. He would get it this high, and then realize nobody was going to pass the ball to him, and then morphed into a 4-time defensive player of the year in the Beast. Now, Nick Graves and Josh Dix and Owen Freeman don't have 4 years to figure it out. With that being said, they're around some pretty good coaches that have the ability to teach them how to win because they don't have a lot of experience with that.
And yes, I think those are all really solid points. And it takes maturity to admit that you need somebody to help you. And so I kind of try to deflect some of that to Ryan because he was mature enough to say that. But it's another coaching cliche, but
nobody's going to confuse you for a mature person, so you don't got to worry about
it. For sure. But another coaching cliche is you can't win until you eliminate losing. Fair. And that's a lot of that too, is you're going to make mistakes. And if you're trying to hold yourself to this the standard of perfection, it's never going to work. So when you make mistakes, you've got to be able to let them go. That's how you kind of eliminate that losing part of it. And, you're right, Jimmy, there's things that this team I think this team has to eliminate other things. Whereas I felt like Ryan was in a different place than a lot of these guys. Go ahead. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I thought you put that like you needed to say something. So, but I'm saying like, I think that they're going to figure it out. Mac is too good of a coach. Huss, the whole group, too good of coaches to not be able to help these guys along and help them figure out what it is they got to do to win.
Yeah, no, I listen, and I know there's a lot of people that, especially on Twitter, are beating the drum about this team and the money that's been spent. To your point, obviously, we asked Lou about the NIL era is different, but I just caution that it is November, and go back and look at the last 4 Novembers. We've been having the same conversation time and time again. Now you don't have a 7'1" rim protector. That's an all-world NBA caliber of player on this team.
Yeah,
dudes on the sideline are still the same, and I think that matters just as much.
Yeah, and Jimmy, I also think it's perfectly fair to be a little bit worried. I'm not telling people you shouldn't be concerned. You should be concerned, but you should also have faith that the guy in charge is going to get this thing figured out. But there's also things that I don't know that Matt can figure out unless he can inject a different level of athleticism into some of these people. Like, I think that's an area where we have to
say it. I'm just going to say it. Once this group gets pissed off, it's going to look different. Because right now, nobody looks that mad. Things keep going like this, which they tend to do, especially if you're lacking athleticism or lacking a little bit of toughness. A little bit of anger will make you pretty tough pretty quickly. And I'm really excited to see what this team looks like with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder because it is so new. There's no reason for them to have a chip on their shoulder. Get your teeth kicked in a couple times, and I think this team is going to respond really well.
Well, we're going to find out.
I know nobody wants to hear that's going to benefit them to lose. It's going to
benefit. No. I think that's very wise.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need it. I mean, look.
I need a clip you telling me I was right and telling me that I'm wise tonight and find a way to add that into the intro.
Find a way, and then show it to your wife.
Yeah. But she's the one that watches this crappy podcast.
but no, I mean, I think, Huss kind of alluded to some of that stuff too, as did Murph. Murph said it when we were interviewing him was like, this might be good for us long-term. So the interesting thing is you're going to play UND on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. We'll win that game. And then you go to the Players era where you got a good Baylor team to open up with. You got an Iowa State team that's good. And we don't know who's the third game.
And they've already seen you. Yeah.
And so, look, there's a very real possibility we're coming back 0-3. There's also a very real possibility we're coming back.
I guess
it has. Thanks. Appreciate that, Jimmy. And there's also a very real possibility we come back 3-0. Yeah. We don't know.
I know Creighton fans want an update on maybe Scandal. I don't know if Scandal is the right, we'll call it Forehead Gate. I can't confirm Murph actually wasn't mad at me about the forehead comment, so I just wanted to make sure.
Oh yeah, good.
He let me.
Yeah, we do. We gotta get that figured out for the next road game though. But yeah, no, Murph's. When you lose a game like that, you matter everybody.
There are people that were worried I was going to lose my credentials to the Creighton games. I just want to.
No, we won't let that happen, Jimmy.
Let people know that's not the case. Well, this has been the Roll Jays podcast brought to you by Pepper Jack's Grill and Pyramid Contractors. As Casey mentioned, we will see you on Wednesday for the North Dakota game. Join us for the pregame show, the postgame show, and the halftime extravaganza. We'll see you on Wednesday. Thanks for watching.
Why you need to try Pepper Jack's Grill, the best Philly cheesesteak in America. At Pepper Jack's Grill, we craft your Philly just the way you like it. Fresh ingredients, sizzling on the grill, and endless customization options. Not just Phillies, we've got rice bowls, burritos, nachos, and even vegetarian choices. And don't forget those crispy fries with our famous spicy ranch. With 10 great locations in Omaha, there's a delicious meal waiting for everyone in the family. Pepper Jack's Grill, your Philly, your way.
At Pyramid Contractors, we do it all. From repairing or replacing your roof to updating siding, windows, or gutters. When you have a home improvement project, call Pyramid Contractors.
Pyramid.